All right, good morning, and thank you all for joining us. Today we have a special presentation, the I-5 North County Enhancements Project Community Briefing. We're hosting today with our partners at the Santa Clarita Valley Economic Development Corporation, so we're very happy to be doing that today. My name is John Musella. I'm with the Santa Clarita Valley Chamber of Commerce, and again, thank you for joining us. Part of our mission here at the Santa Clarita Chamber is to advocate, educate, and connect our members, and I think this today connects a little bit with a lot of our mission. We have helped advocate along with the EDC relative to the I-5 improvements that we're seeing already underway on the I-5 today. And we obviously want to today educate our members in the community about those updates, the progress, and kind of where we are on the schedule, what we can expect to see as construction continues underway. As you know, I-5 is not just important to the Santa Clarita Valley, it's an important arterial for the entire Western United States. They often refer to I-5 as BC to BC, British Columbia to Baja California, and we are an important and strategic part of that as a gateway to and from Los Angeles, as well as our residents here in Santa Clarita commuting to and from Los Angeles. So before we welcome our guests who are going to do the presentation, I want to do a quick introduction and turn it over briefly to Holly Schroeder, President and CEO of the SCVEDC. Holly?
Thanks, John. I also want to welcome everybody to the webinar today, and also thank our partners at Metro for doing the update here. As John said, the I-5 corridor is a improvement here that we've been looking for many years. Really important for goods movement for many of the businesses that the Economic Development Corporation works for in our manufacturing sector, our aerospace companies, our medical device companies, and we need these expansions to keep up with the growth and the demand. We're seeing increasing amounts of logistics activity here in Santa Clarita Valley. And so this is a really important corridor for us. And it is the West Coast area or corridor that John talked about, but obviously a major impact and used by our residents here in the Santa Clarita Valley every day. So thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. We will do Q&A at the end. So if you have questions, feel free to drop things into the chat box, and we will come back to those and have those at the end of the session. So thanks again for being here. John, back to you.
Oh, thanks so much, Holly. And one important thing is, there was an organization started many years ago, the Golden State Gateway Coalition, which helped bring businesses and the public sector together to get these improvements actually through the environmental review process and teed up to be shovel ready to make way for government funding when the time was right. And the reason we're able to have these improvements being done now is because of that early work that was, instigated by the business community here in Santa Clarita Valley and beyond. And so really hats off to the business community for helping us out. But to today's presentation, we are going to be joined by the Community and Construction Relations team for the I-5 North County Enhancements Project. And with us today are Soroya Sandiford, Community Relations Manager for LA Metro, and Billy Parent, Contract Communications Manager with OHLA USA. With that, I want to turn it over to Soroya and Billy for presentation. As Holly mentioned, we'll do questions at the end of the program. So with that, we'll start the program.
Thank you so much, John, and thank you, Holly. That was a lovely introduction to this presentation, what it will be about. So thank you guys for having us this morning. Once again, my name is Soroya Sandiford. I am the Community Relations Manager on the Metro side for the I-5 North County Enhancement Project. And today I am joined with my counterpart on the contractor side, Billy Parent. He is the Contractor Communications Manager for OHLA, who is our prime contractor on this project. So today we're going to give you some information on the project overview, what you can expect to see the enhancements over the next 5 years that you'll be gaining from this project, as well as a construction update on some activities that will be happening over the next 2 to 3 months. And then finally, we're going to kind of culminate to let you know what you can expect from Billy and myself over the next 5 years as that community relations team. So I'm going to hop right in with the project overview. So just a little bit of a background of why this project is happening. As you guys all know, Santa Clarita is the 3rd largest city by population in Los Angeles County, and it is expected to increase its population by more than 25,000 people by the year 35. So in preparation for this population growth and to help relieve some of the congestion in the Santa Clarita Valley, Metro has partnered with Caltrans District 7 to make operational and safety enhancements along the Interstate 5, I-5 freeway in this northern part of Los Angeles County. So this project begins at State Route 14, the SR14 interchange in Santa Clarita, and ends just south of Parker Road in Castaic. So these enhancements include 14 miles of HOV lanes in each direction, 4 sound wall segments, that's a total of 12 sound walls, the replacement and demolition of the Weldon Canyon Bridge, which is anticipated to happen in late 2022, mid 2023. 7 bridge widenings, the extension of the truck lanes, 13.6 miles of median paving, 43 retaining walls, and then finally, improvements to the Intelligent Transportation System, or called the ITS, which is located right at the I-405 and the I-210. People usually ask us what the ITS is, so I just go ahead and say that in the beginning. So the ITS is a control and information system that's used as a communication and data processing. It includes car counting, CCTVs, ramp metering to help increase safety, monitor traffic, and reduce congestion. So those 4 sound wall segments I mentioned, they're divided into 2 sound walls along the southbound and 2 sound walls along the northbound. On our southbound end, those 2 sound walls are located at north of Hasley Canyon Road and Magic Mountain Parkway to Valencia Boulevard. And then on the northbound end, it is from south of McBean Parkway and north of Cowgrove Boulevard. And then finally, here's just an overview of our preliminary conceptual schedule. Our project is divided into 3 main construction stages. So we began construction in early November 2021, and currently we are in Q2 of 2022 in the first stage. So during this first stage of construction, our contractor is expected to complete worksite staging, median construction, HOV lanes and walls. During that second stage, auxiliary lanes and ramps, and then finally closing the project with completing work at our exterior retaining walls with the expected completion date in 2026. So now I will pass it to Billy and he will give you guys that construction update.
Good morning. Thank you, Soraya, and thank you all for having us today. Construction update. So we're going to start with ongoing activity where we are now, and then after that, primarily focus on upcoming construction in the next 3 to 4 months. So really for this summer, bringing us into the early fall. We'll also look at some of those sound wall locations that Soraya mentioned a little more up close in detail. This is really meant to be almost a quarterly construction update. And Soraya will mention that there's a community meeting actually tomorrow night that will cover the same material. So ongoing construction, this starts down at the south end of the project, between the 14 and up to Lions Ave, Pico Canyon. So we've definitely been active in the Weldon Canyon bridge area, in the center medians, installing new drainage and doing some concrete work and paving, as well as asphalt paving. And we've also been excavating and getting ready for the center median construction that will really take place throughout the whole corridor. So photos on your right are just some examples of the type of activity you've probably seen if you've been driving on the 5 and what's happening out there today. So in addition, up in the north end of the project, so between about Rye Canyon Road and Parker Road, similar construction process has begun. So we're mainly staged in the center median in this stretch of the project, starting to set up K-rail and those work zones. We've started excavation, grading, started to install some of our new drainage pipe in that area, and just generally get ready for center median construction. In addition, we've had vegetation removal that's been ongoing. This is fairly typical of any major freeway project, having to clear the kind of vegetation and shrubs along the outside shoulders and potentially anything in the center median of the freeway. So we've started between Calgrove and Weldon Canyon. You probably noticed the areas along the outside shoulders starting to be cleared. And we'll be moving to Rye Canyon Road as well, coming up a little bit further north on the project. And we're going to get into kind of construction activity coming up on Rye Canyon Road as well. So upcoming activity, really three main categories of construction that are coming up. And those are the rows here. So center median construction is the top row. So starting off with that excavation drainage work, new barrier, new permanent concrete pavement, all in the center median. And then bridge construction and shoulder work in that second row. So we've started construction of the new Weldon Canyon Bridge, and we'll look at that a little more in detail. That's the one bridge that's fully removed and reconstructed on the project, as well as other locations where we have to usually widen the 5 over an existing roadway or creek. We'll look at those locations as well. And finally, then sound wall and retaining wall construction. So what those activities will look like, some of the first locations we're starting on the project this summer, and also the general sound wall locations where those are a little more up close. So this is Weldon Canyon Bridge. That top photo is just a Google image as it looks now. There's been some more construction activity there starting, but the plan with Weldon Canyon Bridge is to construct the new bridge and then remove the old bridge after the new bridge is open to traffic and substantially complete. So the area where the new bridge is being constructed in this top photo, it's in the foreground of those sloped areas on the outside shoulders and from the center median. So we've started the center median construction. You can see in that middle photo on the panels, on this bottom panel of photos, that's the current center median at Weldon Canyon. So we've started to excavate and install shoring. You'll also start to see staging and more construction occurring from the outside shoulder. So on the right of this panel, that's the start of kind of typical bridge construction, abutment construction, which are those concrete blocks on the outside shoulder that connect to the bridge superstructure. So this is all starting now and will be ongoing for about the next year. One of the big activities coming up at the end of the summer is installing false work. So the structure that we build that spans up and over across the freeway to allow us to place concrete and rebar and be able to actually build the permanent bridge. So that's something that's coming up at the end of this summer. So now a couple other bridge locations, and this is really moving south to north. So moving up a little further north from Weldon Canyon. And this is what will be typical of most of the bridge locations on the project, where for the future HOV lanes, we need to actually expand, widen the structures of the I-5 bridges where they run over, whether it's a roadway or a creek in this case. So this is between Lyons and McBean. On the right is the Vista Valencia golf course. And the construction for expanding these two I-5 bridge structures will be from the outside lanes and the inside lanes in both directions. And then will be staged from down below near the creek. So we actually have to build new foundations and widen those structures. So we do have some driven steel piles for those new foundations. And then you'll start to see the rebar concrete formwork coming up from the bottom, kind of a below grade level. So this is one of our locations that we're planning to start this summer. In addition, we are undertaking a very similar construction process at Rye Canyon Road. So this top photo is another Google image, and this would be Rye Canyon Road standing at the old road, looking eastbound on Rye Canyon. And very, very similar process. We will have to expand this structure for the future HOV lanes. So these bottom photos down left and right show the bridge column construction for freeway bridge. So starting with the rebar concrete, those columns and forms. And then we will also place precast concrete girders, which is what's happening in the bottom right photo, for the main horizontal support beam for the I-5 bridge. So we'll be staged down on either end of Rye Canyon Road. And we actually have some work coming up this week. And there's information online about it if you're interested, to restripe a part of Rye Canyon Road, place some K-rail, and get ready for really starting that construction. So moving into the vegetation clearing near the I-5 bridge, and then the foundation work and eventually the bridge work on on the I-5 bridge. So work that's starting up this summer and really will be continuing for the months to come. Moving away from bridges, so overhead signs, the existing overhead signage on the freeway. A part of this whole freeway renovation, we will be replacing overhead signs. In the interim, during construction, as we're building the center median, as we are paving, we will need to remove the existing overhead signs and replace them with temporary orange signs. So similar messaging so that it's clear where the exits are, where the connectors are, but having to take down those permanent green signs. So these are something it's done at night, usually a one-night operation where we would have to take lanes or potentially fully close a direction of the freeway during off-peak hours. And then we would remove that sign and open the freeway back up to traffic in the morning. So these are just some example locations that we have coming up, and something that you'll start to see if you're following the project online when those closures are coming up. And now into the last construction category, so wall construction. We do have multiple retaining wall locations starting up this spring and summer. So our first two locations, one is between Calgrove and then Gavin Canyon undercrossing, which is down here at the bottom of the image on the left, where the old road crosses under I-5. So we have a retaining wall that runs that whole stretch, starting up construction. And then we also have a center median retaining wall, which is the image on your right, between that Butte Canyon Bridge location, so about Pico Lions, all the way up to McBean. And that will be continuing north past McBean as well, which is the next slide. And this is the next retaining wall location that we're planning to start actually this month before the end of the month. And this is between McBean and Valencia in the center median. So starting with the excavation, hauling of material, and then you'll start to see the actual foundation and wall start to come up. All right, so those are retaining walls. We also have sound walls. So this is the first area where we're planning to start the sound wall construction. And this is at Hasley Canyon Road. So Hasley Canyon and really right here at Sedona Way and Segura Way, we'll be starting to set up work zones on the old road and construct those sound walls. So this is the furthest north segment of sound walls starting up, and also where we're planning to start work the earliest. We also have sound wall locations down at Calgrove. So this is Calgrove along the northbound I-5, both along the on-ramp and then just north of the on-ramp. So this will start a little bit later in the summer. It's our next location after Hasley. And so that will be starting here and continuing through the end of the year. And then in addition, we have another sound wall along northbound I-5 in the lead up to McBean Parkway. So almost as you enter the off ramp for McBean Parkway next to Vista Valencia Golf Course. This is later on in the project. What happens is with staging on the freeway, we have different phases and different stages of striping on the freeway. So once we advance the center median construction to a certain point and some of the bridge locations, we can then switch traffic and set up K-rail in areas to get to these sound wall locations. So that's coming up late 2023, early 2024. And finally, we also have a sound wall location southbound I-5 between Magic Mountain Parkway and Valencia. And this will be built in two phases. So we'll build about half of it starting this summer. And so in 2022, 2023, building the first phase. And then the second phase is at the end of the project. So 2025 and 2026. And so it's for those same reasons of kind of freeway staging and availability of space. The biggest challenge, one of the bigger challenges on the project is maintaining traffic through the corridor safely while also, renovating and rebuilding. So as we do that, some areas get broken up into different stages, and this is one of those locations. And these are just wall construction activities. So what you'll start to see is these walls are starting to be built. On the left, we have the masonry block for a typical sound wall. And on the right, we have two examples of retaining walls being built. That's a spread footing on the top right for construction of retaining wall. And then a little more far along in the construction process with the rebar standing and ready for concrete, already with the foundation built on the bottom right. And speaking of foundations, so these are the foundation or kind of typical foundation construction for both the sound walls and the retaining walls. So some of that pile driving of driving steel into the ground for the foundations, that's an example on the right of what that will look like. That is for bridge construction, but it is similar to what we'll be doing for some of the retaining walls, such as down at Cal Grove and in the center median. And then for the sound walls, those are typically concrete and drilled hole foundations. So we auger a hole into the ground, drill a hole, and then place rebar and concrete to build the foundation for the sound walls. So that's an example of what that sound wall foundation construction looks like on the left. And that's really the construction update. So now moving into some of the support parts of the project and mitigations. Every major infrastructure project, major metro project has a noise monitoring and mitigation program and plan. So we as a contractor, we're required to maintain a plan. It's developed by a qualified acoustical engineer. That plan includes noise monitoring, reporting, and mitigation and adjustment if needed. That plan also, it goes through, identifies sensitive areas. So mainly residential areas, but also business areas that would be sensitive to noise and that we need to be cognizant of. And then we're able to take more precautions and monitor as needed in those areas. And then as Soroya will mention as well, coordinated responses to public complaints. So that's where Soroya and I come in to make sure that we're getting the messages out to the field crews, the project management, and then also working with members of the public on what's happening on the project and what we can do to try to mitigate some of these issues. And moving away from noise and into traffic. So the whole corridor is now a 55-mile-an-hour speed limit zone. As more construction starts, that really becomes a critical safety, thing for both the general public and for our workers out there on the freeway. We do recognize that the flow of traffic sometimes is greater than 55, and so as close to adhering to that as possible is very much appreciated. I try to go, about 60 when I'm going through the corridor, of course, in the slower lanes, but just a reminder to everyone that whole stretch between Parker Road and SR 14 is a 55-mile-an-hour zone. And upcoming holiday schedule. So this is a statewide deal where on holiday weekends, road construction is limited in terms of how many closures or whether you can fully close the freeway. The idea being to prevent adding to any traffic, that would be coming and going on a holiday weekend. You can picture that the day before Thanksgiving, for instance, we wouldn't be allowed to do a major closure on the freeway or plan for that. So these are the upcoming holidays. We have Memorial Day, of course, this weekend, and then 4th of July, and we have those other holidays listed over there. And that's all for me. So thanks very much. I know that was a lot of information. Thanks very much for listening, and we will be around for Q&A.
Great. Thank you, Billy. So now I am going to give you a little bit of background about what Billy and our role is on the project and how we can be a resource to you and your networks moving forward. So with our primary goal as the Community and Construction Relation team is to expand community engagement against all Metro projects. From then, we partner with community organizations such as yourself to inform as many people as possible. We also maintain contact and relationships with elected officials, keep them informed in case they do get any kind of complaints from their constituents. They know who to refer to, who is a good contact in order to help get those complaints and issues mitigated as soon as possible. And to do this effectively, we as Metro, we work closely in coordination with our contractor, in this case, OHLA and Billy, to have the most up-to-date details of upcoming construction activities. And together, Billy and myself, we create those online communications, digital communications, such known as construction notices. And then we use these networks that we have built to preemptively mitigate any impacts that we receive from the community. And then Metro, the agency, wants to make sure that we are your go-to people in the community if you do have any issues or complaints or concerns about the project. So our main responsibilities come down to 3 main goals, which is to communicate, serve as the public's first line of communication, coordinate, work closely with our Metro and OHLA staff to keep the community stakeholders informed of all upcoming construction activities, and to address any kind of questions and concerns. And then finally, mitigate, to make all possible efforts to preemptively address construction impacts. So that's anything from noise, dust, access, traffic safety, and visibility concerns. And by doing this, we use these primary outreach tools. So our website, which you guys will be able to find the most up-to-date information that's happening on our project, our hotline and direct staff information, Billy and I's contact information if you do have any questions, and we do have a hotline. It's not a physical person, but you can leave a voice message and it will be funneled to me within 48 hours, and I'll be able to get back to you in a timely manner. Our stakeholder email list, if you haven't already, this is probably one of the best ways to stay up to date on what's happening in the project. We do send out a weekly construction notice, which lists out the activities, any kind of closures that are expected to happening that following week. And then we also do construction notices, like Billy answered, digital and prints. So we do door-to-door distribution through walking man and mailers. And then finally, community briefings like we are doing today here for you all. And then our public meetings, which are kind of similar to what we are doing right now, but they're to the general Santa Clarita and North County communities. So speaking of our public meeting, we do have one that is scheduled for tomorrow. It is happening at 6:30 to 8. It will be similar information that we shared with you guys today. So if you know somebody that this information would be beneficial to, please feel free to share it with them so they can join us tomorrow afternoon. Besides Billy and myself, we will have representatives from the Metro project management team and the OHLA project management team that can help assist with any kind of questions or concerns that the community does have. So here is my contact information, my email address, as long as that project hotline that I mentioned, our project email, and then our website, if you, like I said, to find the most up-to-date information on the project. So I'm going to close it off and open for any kind of questions or concerns that you guys would love to ask Billy and I.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to have Holly lead the Q&A for us, but appreciate you taking the time and sharing this information with us. It's been really valuable. So at this point, I'll turn over to Holly for Q&A.
Yeah, so Soraya and Billy, the questions about Q&A are almost all about timelines and being clear about that. So one is, and I know you have a little bit of the conceptual schedule that you showed. Maybe is it possible to maybe bring that back up?
Yes. Let me share my screen one more time. Give me one more second. All right, I'm bringing it back.
It's pretty early on.
Yeah, it's right here. Okay.
There. So, so obviously this shows, that we'll be in construction zone for the next several years.
Yes.
Can you, I guess, if people want to get more breakdowns and details of that, first off, if they want to get on your mailing list, they do that through that email you indicated. Is that correct?
Yes. So you can either send an email to the project email, or you can send me an email and I'll be happy to add you to our stakeholder list. So again, this is just a conceptual schedule. It is subject to change. Things might change within it. So this is just kind of like a broad idea of the activities to that we are expected to complete in each stage. The best way to stay up to date will definitely to be on that email distribution list. That, like I said, we send a weekly construction notice where we give you activities giving the upcoming week, and then just a part of like our role, we are supposed to inform the public at least 72 hours before any kind of construction activity. So again, the website and the being on the email list will probably be the best way to stay on, know what's happening in the project or what activities are going to be upcoming.
Great. And then of course the website is also a good, has a lot of these overviews in it.
Exactly.
So the other question, and this is maybe for Billy, is as you sort of look at these broad stages, one is, when does these, just in their broad sense, when do they most affect travel? Like when we get to that stage 3 of retaining walls, is that likely to include lane closures and or lane movement? Or when are we most likely to see closures in this sort of broad scope here?
Sure. So to start, we have been implementing lane closures at night primarily. So that's usually when we are permitted or allowed to take lane closures, just because the volumes of traffic start to go down, obviously at night. For stages in the schedule where there'll be more major closures, certainly with Weldon Canyon Bridge construction, that false work that spans across the full width of the freeway, we do expect to have nighttime full freeway closures in order to construct that false work. And by full freeway, I mean either direction. So it would be a southbound directional or a northbound directional closure on a given night. And in addition, once that new Weldon Canyon Bridge is built, and this will be about spring of next year, we'll then have to demolish the existing Weldon Canyon Bridge that's currently there. So that will also be a nighttime full freeway closure. In terms of the need to implement closures and kind of traffic control in general, we really expect it throughout the project to have to do lane reductions in the corridor. And then for those larger closures that I was just mentioning, for instance, for Weldon Canyon, those are things that will have a lot of public information in advance, and the Metro will be working to broadcast to parts of LA County, right, Soroya, rather than just kind of locally in Santa Clarita. So I think, as Soroya was saying, the best way to keep up to date is to stay on the email list. And then the public meetings that Metro offers, where we go really through the schedule in detail, for instance, tomorrow night, those are great meetings to both ask questions and get information. In this case, the presentation that we just went through is going to be very similar to what's presented tomorrow night. So you're getting a head start, which is good.
Okay, so possibly some more detail tomorrow. Get on the email list for lots of detail in the weekly updates. But just to reiterate, so ballpark of when you are anticipating Weldon Canyon and how long. I know you went over that, but just to give remind folks of that.
So Weldon Canyon construction, the new bridge construction has started now, and it's expected to continue through the spring of 2023, so about a year. And then once that new bridge is constructed, we would demolish the existing old bridge. And so that would also be in the springtime of next year as well.
Okay, so next year, we'll
sorry,
be
go ahead.
looking at that. Have you guys been, in terms of your timelines, what have you been seeing in terms of your availability of workforce and issues with supply chain? Is that causing disruptions and delays for you in this project?
Sorry, do you want me to answer that one? Sure. So other than generally speaking and understanding the question in context of supply chain issues from like the pandemic and broader trends in kind of the labor workforce, it hasn't really had a direct or tangible impact on the project yet, at least that has caused some major schedule change. That's caused a major schedule change. So nothing of direct impact yet, but it's something that we're monitoring and having to kind of battle through like everyone else in the business community.
Yeah.
And Billy, just to follow up on that relative to schedule, I know we're about 6 months in or so on this project. How are we doing relative to the original schedule that was laid out for the project as far as timing? Are we on schedule right now? Are we experiencing delays, and kind of where are we at in that regard?
So far, there have been no major delays that have been kind of, finalized in a sense. That the schedule is still on schedule at this time. The reason I'm having a little bit of hesitation in explaining that is that kind of, as Soroya said, schedules change often for a number of reasons. So for me to say everything is on schedule right now, and 6 months, 12 months from now, it could be a different story. But it's a dynamic thing, the project schedule. But so far on schedule.
Great, thank you.
Right. Just call everybody's attention to the chat. John was kind enough to put in the website for that, and so you can do that. You can get that, and we will be sending the slides out. That last slide has Soroya's info and all of the contact info for this. And at that point, I'm not seeing any other questions that we haven't answered at this point. So type fast if you have one more. And again, remind folks that there is the community meeting tomorrow night. If there are other people that are interested in getting these updates, recommend they attend that meeting and or get on the weekly mailing from Metro about the project. I think as leaders in the business community, it's really important for us to stay informed. So I want to thank everybody for being here today. Soroya, how often are you doing those kind of community meetings?
As often as needed. So with our big construction update meetings, they're happening quarterly. So we have 4 a year, but our community briefings, we do them as often as needed. So I think over the last 3 months, Billy and I, we've been at 10 different organizations giving kind of updates on what's happening throughout construction. So whenever you guys, want a construction update, please don't hesitate to reach out. Billy and I will, be here to provide that information to you.
Great. So we'll probably have the EDC and the chamber do these periodically. If there are other groups that you are associated with, other networks that you think would be interested, then certainly take the opportunity to reach out to Soroya about that. We want to have people in the Valley know what's happening. We want them to understand the timeline. This is going to be a little bit more of a marathon than a sprint. As we work through all of this, and we want to keep people informed, and certainly keep people informed of those moments when we do have significant disruption because of lane closures or other types of changes, and so that people can prepare and make their plans accordingly. With that, I want to thank folks for being here. Thanks for helping to communicate this out to the others in your networks and your colleagues. And with that, John, I'll turn it to you for any final remarks.
Great. No, thank you, Holly. Appreciate that. And I just wanted to thank our team here, joined us, community outreach team. I think you guys are doing a really stellar job this time, this go around. So we appreciate that. This is obviously phase 2 of the I-5 enhancement, and your leadership here with community outreach has been tremendous. Appreciate the open communication. And with that, I think we'll wrap it up and wish everyone well. And Billy, let's stay on schedule. So appreciate it.
I'm budgeting on schedule.
No pressure.
Thank you.
No pressure at all. Thank you guys so much for having us. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Soroya. Thank you, Billy.
Thanks again.
Bye.
Bye.